The ego is actually an illusion. What is the ego? The ego is pride. It is the part of us that gets offended, that gets angry, and only cares about itself. But really, it doesn't care about itself. Because if it cared about itself, it wouldn't care about itself. If that makes sense. Let me explain. The ego is the part of us that only is concerned about itself. But when you remember that Hashem is in charge and that we're all a piece of Him and our brothers and sisters are the very same as us, when we realize that, it makes us realize, it makes us come to appreciate the fact that actually, if we really cared about ourselves, then we would care about others just as much, because there's no difference between us and others. So therefore, the ego is an illusion. It makes you hate yourself. When one hates themselves and loves themselves, there's really no difference in the sense that somebody who hates themselves is really very obsessed with themselves. And whereas someone who actually loves themselves isn't really obsessed with himself at all and pays little attention to his own independent self. When we are in the presence of Hashem, we lose our ego and we lose our independent identity. The only way to connect to Hashem is when we put our ego aside. When we put away our pride, our ego, our self-obsession, when we put that aside and we say, Hashem, you're in charge, that's when we're allowed to connect with Him. If you want to enter Hashem's world, the ego, you leave the ego at the door. So, if you really love yourself, love others, because what are others? Part of you. And what are you? A part of others. And what are all of us? A part of Hashem. The whole purpose of the Torah is so that we can love our neighbor the same way we love ourselves. Which is hard. Because the ego makes that very challenging. But when we learn Torah and we actually connect to it and we bring it into the world, we can transform this self-obsession to a Hashem obsession. And by doing that, we leave the ego behind.